Hello and welcome to another episode here on my channel. My name is Casmol, and today we have the first part of the two-part series where we ask, will Lost Ark be pay to win here in the West? And yes, it will be two parts because the video would have been too long. And in the first part, we are talking about what is pay to win, what has Amazon planned or might have planned, and then we would take a look at the different region, Japan, Russia, and South Korea, and how they are handling actually the item shop. Now, you might have noticed that you are seeing Lost Ark here in the background and my face in the top left corner. This is an old recording of me playing the Russian version of Lost Ark. No, this is not the alpha. I'm not breaking any NDAs here. This is really just, as I said, the Russian version. And unfortunately had to use this footage because my data storage, unfortunately, is broken. Yay! Terabytes of data just gone into the abyss. So I'm truly sorry if you have to look at this footage instead of the footage I actually prepared. But yeah, that's unfortunately a little bit problematic right now, but we will go beyond that. So let's ask the question, will Lost Ark be pay to win here in the West? What is pay to win nowadays? Well, back in the day, pay to win was pretty simple. Pay to win meant you are buying an item in the store which will give you an edge in PvE or PvP, and sometimes it will be even an item you cannot obtain through gameplay in the game itself. It was pretty straightforward. We don't do that anymore nowadays. Like even in South Korea, a lot of games don't really do that anymore. And what they are normally doing is they are putting problems and inconveniences in your place, and you can, of course, find ways in the game to go around those inconveniences, but that might take hours, days, or even weeks. Or you are going into the item shop and just buy the solution. It is pay for convenience or pay for solution. And I find that sometimes very sleazy. I hate that. It's like, wait a second. So you're telling me instead of thinking of the player first, and instead of making it so that it is enjoyable what I will play here in a minute, you made it specifically so that it is annoying and that it is pushing me to the item shop. And I hate that. I really, really do. And it's the whole psychological aspect behind it I really hate here. And a lot of games do that. And yes, in some of the regions of Lost Ark, that is exactly what they are doing. And it is pretty annoying, but we will get to that. Now, some other people will say everything is pay to win when you are not just selling skins in an item shop. Or there are other people who take it very much literally, what pay to win means, and say as long as it doesn't interfere with my PvP, it's not pay to win. So which group is now on the right? Everyone. Like everyone has their own red flags where they say at this point, I'm not okay with the game pushing me into the item shop. And yeah, everyone is using the term pay to win for this, which I'm not a real fan of because it's pretty much outdated and it doesn't really convey very well what you mean. Like I can say, I hate pay to win. Oh yeah, I assume everyone is hating pay to win, but what does that really mean in context? Like what exactly do I hate? And so I like to say I hate pay to win, or in this case, I hate to pay for convenience when it is artificially created in the game. Like a game where I don't have a problem with paying for convenience would be Path of Exile. Wonderful example where you can get some convenience items for your storage in the game, but it isn't really necessary and it doesn't really make the other storage bad. It just makes it so much better, and you only have to buy it once for your whole account, and it's a free-to-play game. So I'm like, okay, if this will cost me 25 bucks, I pay once, and I'm more than okay with that in a game where I spend hundreds, if not thousands of hours. Like it's always, when I talk about pay for convenience, it's always combined with a certain intent. What is the intent of the developer or publisher with this convenient item in the shop? And the reality is, for Lost Ark in the West, we don't know. We have absolutely no clue what Amazon has planned. The only one who have a clue right now is Amazon themselves. And even that, I'm not 100% sure if they already know what they want to do with Lost Ark here and the item shop. I know it might sound weird to say that, but I have seen other free-to-play MMOs go through the same course of thought where they're just like, okay, let's do the game first and then let's think about the item shop. And that's always a good sign because the game comes first and then the item shop. It's always a bad sign for me when developers are starting to develop the game with the item shop in mind. That's never a good sign. Doesn't have to lead to anything bad, but it is a bad sign. So when Amazon is saying, hey, we don't even know exactly what we want to do with the item shop yet, that's a good sign for me, because that probably means that they want to make sure that the game is good when it comes to the West, and then thinks about the item shop second. But now, how do other regions handle this? How is Japan, Russia, South Korea are handling the item shop in Lost Ark? Well, first things first, we will not talk about Japan because the only time I have basically had any contact with the item shop in Japan is through hearsay, and I don't like that. Hearsay doesn't really help me, so yeah, we will just ignore Japan here. So let's focus on Russia and South Korea. Let's have a look at Russia. This is where I put most of the time in. I have hundreds of hours in Lost Ark in Russia, and I hate the item shop. The item shop in Russia is very much the pay of convenience with the intent of annoying you so much in the game that at some point you will budge and go to the item shop to buy something. One of the most grueling parts for me is the Phoenix Feathers. You can buy directly in the item shop, and the Phoenix Feathers allow you to revive yourself in the middle of a fight. So let's say you are going into a dungeon with a group, you are fighting for hours and hours, and you have this hard boss fight in front of you, and you are a person who did spend money to have the Phoenix Feathers ready so that you can just revive yourself whenever you so desire in the game, in the fight, to continue the fight so that you don't have to start from the beginning. And then there are other people who didn't spend the money on the item shop and they stay dead. Like that goes even in the direction of pay to win for me, because it is pay to win in PvE, because you have a clear advantage over people who don't have a Phoenix Feather, right? And getting Phoenix Feathers in the game itself is not that easy. It is possible, but it is very, very annoying and tedious. So I totally believe that the Russian version is a pretty good sign for pay to win, or at least for pay to convenience, or for convenience with a bad intent. Now keep in mind, the publisher is Mycom, and as far as we know, it's the publisher who is basically like arranging the item shop. So in our case, it would be Amazon who is doing the item shop and not really Smilegate. And yeah, like Mycom unfortunately has a history with partially very bad item shops, and I'm just glad they are not the Western publisher. Like, I was actually fearing the moment where Mycom would announce that they would be the publisher here in the West, and I'm so glad they are not it. Like, seriously, I'm just happy about that. So that of course begs the question, how is it going in South Korea? So this is rather interesting. So South Korea has a little bit of a story to tell when it comes to Lost Ark and the item shop. So when Lost Ark came around with Season 1, it was already borderline pay to win, or at least pay to convenience with a very bad intent. And this is what you probably hear from a lot of people. When you are asking people who have checked out Lost Ark in Season 1 in South Korea, that's what they would tell you. It was bad. And the thing is, though, that is outdated information. Completely and utterly outdated. Because Season 2 came around and they doubled down on it. Wait, what? No, yeah. They doubled down on the pay-to-win and pay-to-convenience mechanics and made it even worse. And it got so bad that even South Korean players who are very much used to this kind of shenanigans said, I'm out. This is it. I'm out. This is not the game I want to play anymore. This is too much. And thankfully, Smilegate was smart. They saw what happened. They saw thousands of people quitting and the game slowly dying. And their reaction to all of this was, all right, maybe we overdid it here. Let's completely revisit the item shop and let's completely revisit the parts you can actually do in the game to obtain those items. And they changed everything. Like, they actually made it a good item shop, which is fair, where you can get all those items in the game and it doesn't take you hours to get those items. You can basically farm those items in minutes. So I would say the South Korean item shop is fair now. Now, did that save Lost Ark in South Korea? No. No, it didn't. The game was still dying. People were going to other games where all their friends were. And it didn't look good for Lost Ark in South Korea. But then something happened. And I will use the term the MMO crisis in South Korea. If you've never heard about it, just Google for it or look up some YouTube videos or some articles where they talk about basically the MMO crisis in South Korea in 2020. But let me give you a TLDR. What happened? Well, last year, people found out that multiple developers of multiple independent games and studios apparently use their developer accounts to create items for the game, then sell them on a third-party store. And to completely rig the system, they would also lower dramatically the drop rate in the game itself, so the people had basically no other chance but obtaining the item through the store they set up, the items they created and put in there. They completely rigged the system. And when people found out about it, they were livid. Like, games died overnight. There are screenshots and videos where people are basically logging out before it became public what happened. And it was a bustling game with full of players. And then they logged in next day and everyone was gone. Like, people were just leaving games left and right. It got even so bad, and I kid you not, those videos and pictures exist, where they have got trucks. They rented trucks with LED fonts on the side, and they sent those trucks to the developer studios and showed some very, very toxic messages the whole day. And they sent multiple ones. It was crazy because people were legitimately pissed. But that also meant that now people were looking for new MMOs. They were looking for a way to scratch that itch. And thankfully, they remembered that Lost Ark existed. And Lost Ark wasn't on the list of developers who tried to create the items and sell them. So they were going back to Lost Ark and checked them out. And then they realized, hey, look at that. The game is actually not bad anymore. It's not pay to win anymore. Like, there's actually a game here now. This is fun. And more people came to the game. And it got so good that Lost Ark is now the biggest MMO in South Korea. And the fourth biggest game in total in South Korea. That's how much people actually love the game and still love it. And I know what you will say at this point. Well, that's a pretty neat story, Mo, but what does that tell us about the item shop here in the West? Well, it tells us that, first of all, they're definitely a developer / publisher who are willing to listen to the community. And I hope that they will watch closely what Amazon will do here in the West. And I hope that Amazon will also actually listen to the community and make changes if needed. Second, and this is also very important to note, we don't have to pay for South Korea. So there is an MMO out there, and I will not do any name dropping, but there is an MMO out there which is very popular, but it is not really popular in South Korea. But it is a South Korean game. And what they're basically doing with the player base here in the West is using the player base in the West to pay for the little income they make in South Korea. So you're basically paying for the other regions here in the West. And because Lost Ark is absolutely massive successful now in South Korea, they don't need that anymore. It's actually the other way around. There was, just a few days ago, there was, well, a week ago it is now, there was actually a developer Q&A where the South Korean player base was asking like, hey, we have heard that the game is now coming to the West. I hope this is not something we will regret, right? Like, I hope that South Korea or the player base in South Korea is not paying for the player base here in the West, right? Like, this is not us doing all the work and then the Western player base would just be the #1 player base and you were just focusing on the Western player base. We would be forgotten, yada, yada, yada. Like the whole shebang of having concern that now the big Western player base is coming in, that the development studio would just move on and will mostly focus on what the Western player base want and they will be completely forgotten. And the developer said, no, first of all, absolutely legit concern. We get that, but no, that's not our plan. And that's reassuring because they're actually planning for the different regions, what the different regions want and what the different regions are okay with. And that gives me a little bit of confidence. And I hope that when Lost Ark is coming out, or at least when Amazon will finally show us the item shop, that, yeah, some people will say, oh, this is pay to win. But I hope that the majority in the end will look at the item shop and will come to the conclusion that it is okay. That this is an item shop we can totally deal with and which is not really interfering with our gameplay and the fun we will have. With that said, we will see, and we will definitely take a look at the packs, the founder packs in part 2 of the video, and we will see what they have to offer. With that said, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you can click on the like button. If you didn't enjoy this video, well, there's a dislike button right next to it. And if you're new to the channel, you want to see more Lost Ark content and videos, and sometimes also reaction videos for other games, E3, and all the gaming shows out there, that is also here on the channel. And I would appreciate if you consider a subscription to the channel. That would help me out greatly. So thank you so much for watching. Hope I see you next time. Stay safe. Have a good one.